G'day, everybody. Welcome to the FightFit Podcast. We are with my main man, John Verbi, today.
Yes, this is so exciting, Jay. I've never done a podcast before.
Never?
No. I've done lots of kind of interviews on radio and even TV and various odds and sods, but I've never done a podcast, so it's kind of weirdly exciting.
Welcome to the new age, mate. This is where it's at now.
Yes, I think there's a lot of new stuff I'm having to get my head around.
Over the last 5 years or so, it's gone from like 17% of Australians listening to podcasts to something like 70 or 80%.
I was listening to a podcast on the way here.
Really?
So, yeah.
What was it, may I ask?
What was it? The Mojo radio show.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if you've heard it, but
No.
I did a talk one day with a guy, Gary Birtwistle, and it's his podcast. So it sort of intrigued me, and he does a fantastic job. He used to work for Triple M, and he's a bit like me. He's a travelling speaker around the countryside, so it's kind of nice to see what other people do
Yeah,
in their
awesome.
spare time.
So, Johnny, tell us, for those of you who have been living under a rock and don't know the great man himself,
Yes.
tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Look, I love that question. When I get an answer from my dad, he says I'm a professional bullshitter. Little Italian man, he says you just the bullshits all of the time. You bullshit. But when I was thinking about that question on an airplane recently when somebody asked me, and the first thing that popped into my head was I terrify people because I talk about health and well-being and what happens when you don't look after yourself and blah, blah, blah. And that pretty much terrifies people. I suppose my working life is broken up into three sections. I spend about a third of my life kind of travelling around the countryside, doing seminars and talks to corporates and groups about stuff they should already know about. Eat better, exercise more, look after yourself, yada, yada, yada. And that's kind of fun. About a third of my time I spend out in the oil rigs in Bass Strait doing seminars and fitness programs for the guys out there. And about a third of my time I spend involved in various rehab programs with a couple of medical centres, the Blackburn Medical Centre and various others, North Bourne Medical Centre, doing rehab programs for people who've had some sort of crisis or event. They've had a heart attack or a stroke or had a crack at suicide or whatever it might be, and they're kind of rebuilding their life. And in between all of that, I do a truckload of testing. So I travel around the countryside, mostly gyms and workplaces, and I measure how people's training is going. So I get them on my little scanner and it measures how much muscle they've gained, how much fat they've lost, their bone density and a bunch of other kind of health indicators. And so I can track the success or otherwise of their program. So I'm constantly juggling between those sort of settings, and it does sort of intrigue me because when I talk to my mates about my work, they often get all excited about the travel part of it, you know, staying in flash motels and stuff. And as everyone knows, when you travel for a job, it doesn't take long for it to lose its gloss, and that sucks pretty quickly. But when I talk about the rehab component of my work, they see that as pretty horrible. Whereas I see it as the easiest and most kind of satisfying part of my work. Because when you've had some form of crisis and you've had the big fright, you've woken up on the footpath with a couple of paramedics going through your pockets, you become highly motivated. When you look at it, all your family members who are shitting themselves, wondering if you're going to come back from this, you're highly motivated. So when I say eat rabbit food, exercise more, get to bed early, whatever it is, they go bang. And as a result, they get really good results quite quickly. Whereas when I'm doing...
do you think that, so that work that you do, are you kind of almost catching people at a crossroads and helping steer them on the right direction?
When I'm working in the rehab programs, yeah, absolutely. When I'm doing the corporates, not so much.
Yeah, I meant with the rehab program,
Yeah, because the corporates, everyone's got... No one's ever going to fall over. Only other people have the heart attack. It's never going to be me. So when I talk about stats that 1 in 4 of you will develop heart disease, diabetes, whatever it is, they just look around the room and go, "Oh, you're stuffed. He's no good.
Yeah.
He's going to die."
Right.
But me, oh, heaven forbid, doesn't happen to me. So in many respects, as well as that, with the rehab and the testing, I get to see people at the start and the end of their program. When I'm testing people at the gym, for example, at FightFit, they come in and get tested, and then they go away and they train their buns off during a program or just during their general training. We can track their progress, and I see them improve, and it's so exciting to do that. When I do a corporate gig, I could walk in there and do a talk and never see them again, or not see them for, a couple of years or whatever it might be. So that sort of work is not as satisfying as working with people that you kind of know and see on a regular basis.
And you have that at FightFit, obviously. Well, that's the first time I met you is when you did my measurements. Yes. And I stood up there and you told me that I looked like a Greek god. You lied to my face, John.
No.
You lied to my face, mate.
You are a Greek god. You are magnificent. Commonly referred to as stud muffin from the people that see you.
Is that right?
Well,
yeah, I think you take that with a pinch of salt, mate.
A lot of people tease me about the fact that when I do a result...
you give everyone the positive feedback. I thought I was special, mate.
And people say that, but I reckon I give a balanced view, because most people, as they walk towards the machine, start immediately crapping their pants and remembering every naughty thing that they've ever done. They remember every drink, Mars bar, time they missed a workout. And what they forget is the cumulative effect of all the workouts, the cumulative effect of that, Paul standing over you screaming, saying one more rep or another 100 burpees or whatever it is, and you forget all that. And they often come and focus on the one or two negatives. And what I try and do in the review of their report is give them a balanced view and say, well, these are your strengths. And what can we do to leverage off that? Yeah, these are your weaknesses, which you probably knew before you did the test. So you kind of don't need me to tell you that you're overweight, or that you're too fat, or that you've got not got enough muscle, or whatever the negative might be.
But it clearly indicates on the test where.
Yeah.
Do you want to actually give everybody the mechanics of the test and how it all
works? Yeah. What basically the scan, you stand on it. It's kind of it's a $75,000 bathroom scales basically. You jump on it, and it sends 8 little electronic pulses via your hands and your feet through your body, and as those beams, very similar to, say, your remote control on your telly. As those beams rocket through muscle, bone, tissue, fat, fluid, whatever it might be, it records exactly how much of that it comes into contact with. It'll give me your exact measurements of each limb from head to toe. It'll tell me exactly how much external fat you've got, how much internal fat, the visceral fat or the heart attack fat you've got. And then it compares you with people of your age group, so that you get not only a benchmark of where you're at, but it gives us a picture of how you fare against other 24-year-olds and males and so on. So you get a bit of perspective. And once it's done that, then it's my job to show you where your strengths as well as your weaknesses lie. And it's my job to show you where to from here. Because really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you're Fatty Boombar coming back from your 100th heart attack or whether you're Usain Bolt. The question is exactly the same at the end of it. It's where to from here, mate. Where am I going from here? What does this mean for me? So I can easily just circle the muscle and fat and say, there you go, buddy, see you later. But I want you to understand what it's telling me about you. The problem with all bathroom scales is that you jump on it and it tells you absolutely nothing, because it might say you're 75 kilos, but I can give you a haircut and change that, an enema and change that, a sauna and change that. I want to know how much of that 75 kilos is muscle, how much of it is body fat, what kind of body fat is it? And I want to know, is your training, is your diet impacting positively on your muscle and your body fat? And one of the things that I've seen and has changed my view of nutrition massively over the journey is that there's kind of no one T-shirt that fits everybody. I've seen people, I guess, the fattest, the worst people I see by a country mile, by the Flemington Strait, are vegetarians and vegans. Now, before I get mugged by all the vegos out there, I also see the occasional one who gets it right and are stunning. I see people of all sorts of eating patterns that work and don't work. And I guess what I'm trying to say in a very long-winded way is that there's no one T-shirt that fits everybody. It's about creating something that is sustainable for you, that allows for birthdays, weddings, bar mitzvahs, grand finals, days we don't give a stuff, allows for the fact that you do or don't like meat, or that you, whatever the case may be. So I'm less and less judgmental now when people say I'm, vegetarian, or I'm this or I'm that, or I'm paleo or whatever. I go, fine, you can be whatever you like, mate. Let's just see if it's working for you. If it's not working, why are we doing it? For a lot of people, they'll gravitate to a particular type of exercise because they like it, not because it's the sort of training that they need. I always say to people, the exercise you hate the most is generally the one you need the most, because the reason you hate it is because you're crap at it. When you're really good at something, you want to do it again and again. When you're crap, you try and avoid it like the plague. So
that's like boxing and weightlifting for me. I like boxing, but when it comes to weightlifting and when it comes to strengthening my posterior, I know I need to do that. I've had problems with my back and my glutes and need to strengthen all of those areas and other things as well. I can't stand it. Can't stand sitting in a weight room. So my body has that imbalance and I need to do the stretching and the warming up and the what's it called, the bar and all that sort of stuff.
My flexibility is horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. So yoga and stretching are ideal for me. And do I do it? Of course not. I avoid it like the plague. And when I do it for periods, I go, hey, I should do this more often. No shit, Sherlock. And it's about finding the right sort of training that gets the right impact, which is why I'm really spewing. I haven't discovered boxing much earlier in my life. I mean, I've done, in the park boxing stuff and the circuit training boxing stuff, but that's nothing like this. This is the real deal, and it's stunning. It's like I've been in the health and wellbeing space all my working life, in the fitness space all my working life, and I measured boxers all the time and gone, yeah, gee, they get magnificent physiques and great fitness, and why haven't I tried this earlier? And so I'm very grateful to Bash, who I also hate, because he massively bullied me into doing this challenge a little while ago. And I'm so pleased he has, because it's been absolutely magnificent.
So you and I have done this challenge together, the whole training.
Yes.
And tell me about
why don't I look like you? What is going on with that?
Why don't I look like you, John? Give me a break, mate. Come on. If only.
If only, yes.
So tell me how you feel it's gone, because you're one of the bigger characters in the training, and I love it when we're all doing burpees and you're yelling out, abusing yourself.
Yes, I do get a little bit psycho. Let's be totally honest.
It's hilarious.
I need all the encouragement I need to force myself to get to that next level. And what can I say about this? It's the intensity. I love the intensity of it, but it's the
I've seen you in the fetal position there a few times after training.
Yeah, absolutely knackered, completely exhausted physically, but mentally I'm knackered too. And plus it's understanding and all the skills that are involved with it when you're completely exhausted. When I notice it most when we're doing things like pad routines. They'll go, Paul will go 1, 2, 3, and you do that, and then 3, 4, 5, he'll add this on, and he'll add 5, 6, 7 on. And I can barely remember my name or what was the bit after hello. After about two things, I'm so physically and mentally exhausted. And that was one of the things that I was, I guess, completely unaware of. And the way that it does cater for every fitness level. Like I'm 62, and it doesn't matter what age you are out there in the activity, because you just do what you can do, and you're learning your skill just like you would a golf swing or a tennis serve or whatever it is. It's quite amazing.
I think with the mental and physical part, it's the relationship between the two is what I really love about it. And when you're doing these exercises, you're really very switched on mentally, and your body and your mind have this sort of synergy that you don't really get very often. And that's the bit that really gets me sometimes. And when I finish a training session and I'm knackered, but it's like I've just done an hour and a half's meditation.
Yeah,
because I really do feel like it just, that zen after, the complete focus on just one thing for such a long time.
I guess from a personal point of view, from a teaching background, it makes me smile a lot, because a lot of the stuff that they do kind of looks a bit random, but I can see that it's a really well structured class. It's nothing they do is by accident. Nothing they do is off the top of their head. It's just really well organised, and you can see the development in all of us because of that.
This is the 21st time that Paul's done it. So,
yes,
and obviously he's trained world champions. So we're really nothing.
We're small fry. Yeah,
exactly. So it's he really knows what he's doing. Every single there'd be a method to everything he's doing.
I think because look, I go to, I think it's like 500 gyms around Australia and workplaces and stuff, and there are certain things that make really good places work, and without a doubt, it's the culture of the place. It's that culture's a wanky sort of word, I reckon. It's more about community, and they've created this community where everyone's really encouraging, and I do go to a couple other boxing gyms where it's more about the individual. It's less about us. Whereas our group and all the previous groups, the classes, everyone's so encouraging. You know, Troy comes around, or Brendan pops his head in, and they're not coaching me, but they know, they see what you're doing, or Dinesh will come in and say, oh, Spot, do this or do that, and it's just this little gem of encouragement or this gem of insight that they have because, A, they know their shit, they're really smart, great communicators, and they actually give a shit. So they really care about you and they want you to improve, and they've just got this great community, and just all the coaches are amazing.
Yeah. So I'm really interested in some of the stories perhaps that you've encountered in your crisis management, I guess you would call it. Is there anything, like, without saying any names or anything like that, is there anything that you could...
Well, for me, the thing that started me on this journey, it's my first ever job as a young snotty-nosed kid working in a gym when I actually had hair at that stage and way too much lycra. I was working in this gym and it was really, really great, and everyone knew each other, not too dissimilar to here. And it was back in the, I don't know, early 80s. And you knew everyone.
Let's get physical playing.
Yeah, absolutely. All of that. And everyone knew each other in a way. And it was, part of the gym had squash courts. God, we don't even see squash courts anymore. And there was this lovely man there who I said hello to every week, overweight guy, and away he goes, playing his best mate squash, and he has a massive heart attack on the squash court. And a colleague and I jump in there and we're doing CPR, and sadly he passes away. So it was
right in front of you there.
Yeah, whilst I was doing CPR on him, and the ambos come in and they continue on, and it was unfortunate he passed away, and it was a big deal for me as a young man.
Yeah,
it blew me
away. Terrible thing to see.
Terrible stuff. And I remember sitting on the chair gobsmacked as his son walked in, and his son was devastated, and he's crying and all that kind of stuff, and it blew me away. And he said to me, Dad did this every week. Every Wednesday played with his best mate for 20 years. But it was the only exercise he did. The rest of his life, he ate poorly, did no exercise, drank and smoked, put on weight, and it was a time bomb waiting to happen. And it had a massive impact on me as a young man. The trauma it had on this family, the trauma it had on me, still makes me choke up. And I can, weirdly, I can still see that man's face. Sometimes I can feel like I taste it still. I've done CPR 4 times on people who have had heart attacks during physical activity. So it's had a big impact on me. I want to get the message across to as many people as possible that this is the only body we've got. You've got to do some stuff about it. You've got to exercise regularly. You've got to make it fun. You've got to do it with people you like, because motivation comes and goes. There are days when you want to do it and days when you don't.
Oh, yeah.
But if you and I train together, we've kind of committed, then I'll come and we'll go because you're expecting to see me. And once we get started, we're up and away. And you'll give it to me if I'm not there. And when you're not there, I'm going to give it to you going, absolutely, where were you? And we get dragged along kicking and screaming by the momentum of the group. And so we all end up closer to where we want to be. And that was me as a young man. And all through my life, my working life, there's been those style of events where really lovely people have passed away way too early not because they had to, but because they just managed themselves badly. And my job as a health professional is to get the message across to people that exercise doesn't have to be a chore. Nutrition doesn't have to be boring. It can be absolutely magnificent. There's no bad food out there. There's no one exercise. The best exercise in the world is
boxing.
Boxing, yeah. Well, in my view, it's the one you'll do. It's the one you enjoy because you want to come back and do it. I can't wait to get back to my next boxing class because it's so exciting and I learn so much and hanging out with really cool people and it's not boring exercise like going to the weight session for you. It's exciting because I can't wait to, and frustrating as hell because I'm hopeless at it, but it's cool because you're learning and you're growing with it. And I want to get that across to people that exercise is about that. Nutrition is about that too. There's no, I see people who get all excited about a particular eating plan. I'm going to be paleo, or I'm going to be low carb, or I'm going to be.
But you don't know if that's going to work for you.
As well as that, God, you're boring.
Yeah.
You're so fucking boring. Get a life. What do you do Christmas Day? What do you do with your birthday? What do you mix it up.
It doesn't have to be one
I
fad thing.
I agree.
I've been working with Michelle Reeves, who's a
yes. How good is she?
Mate, unbelievable.
She's the bomb.
Yeah.
She is. Absolutely.
And
bomb.
I've lost 7 kilos over the last 2 months. But the thing is, the scales, we don't worry about the scales and the number on the scales. What we worry about is how I'm feeling. We worry about my energy levels. We worry about getting 4 liters of water in a day and then my diet plan. And I've been eating 4 meals a day and a smoothie. And I've been losing weight every week. And I've been leaning up and I lose.
Not hungry?
No, never. Never starving myself. But if anything, I've got to it's a struggle to get in all the meals sometimes.
I love hearing that.
Yeah, and it really is, and it really has opened my eyes to nutrition.
Because that's sustainable, isn't it?
Completely.
You can keep doing that.
Yeah.
But if you were walking around starving, looking at eating small children because you're so hungry, how sustainable is that? It's not
at all. You go to prison quickly.
Yeah. And if you're just eating, I don't know, Lithuanian armpit juice, what do you do when you go to your mate's birthday party or restaurant for dinner or whatever the hell it is?
Normally my mates supply that.
Yeah. Not to mention, it's not good for your gut health. If you're only eating a very limited amount of foods, A, you're going to get really bored with it, but B, there's a lot of bugs in your guts that you need, and if they're not getting fed, they die off, and then when you reintroduce those foods, you can have all sorts of problems from that. So we need a varied diet.
Can you explain gut health at all?
Look,
it's such a strange, nuanced topic that people say it, but people don't understand what they're talking about.
To break down all the food that you're consuming, we use a variety of things, enzymes and bugs that break all this down and process this stuff. And certain enzymes work together with certain bugs to break down certain foods. Now, if you're missing some of those bugs, it becomes inefficient. As soon as your body starts to get inefficient at whatever level, whether that's at a cellular level or wherever, it's a disaster. And you mentioned how you're drinking so much water. I love to hear that because it means that your cells are really well hydrated. At the end of the day, the way that cell functions is nutrients are dragged in there when you're well hydrated efficiently. If it's not well hydrated, all the nutrients don't get in efficiently, so that cell suffers. But as well as that, all the toxins and crap that builds up in that cell aren't removed efficiently, and so you get a build-up of toxins in that cell. What could possibly go wrong there? Cancer, the list goes on. So it's all about, at the end of the day, it's about efficiency. It's about making your digestion efficient, about the breakdown of food efficient, about the absorption of food through the intestine into your blood vessels and into your cells efficient. It's all about efficiency. As soon as you're not getting a wide cross-section of foods, you become inefficient.
And Michelle's really opened my eyes to the balance aspect of things as well. Before, I'd say probably too carb heavy and too meat heavy. I'd say not enough vegetables, but now I'm eating a lot of vegetables and salads and that with most of my meals, all different colored vegetables, and having a lot of that with my meals.
Is it tasty?
Yeah, I can put sauces on it and all that sort of stuff. We don't worry about that sort of thing. And
do you start to crave those foods now?
The
the healthy foods?
Oh, yeah, big time. The thing is, though, I can have a big meal with chicken, potatoes, vegetables, or like, I make like pastas. But if I don't want to have the carbs of the pasta, if I feel like if I haven't had a massive workout or something, then I'll have the zucchini noodles, and I'll have cauliflower and sweet potato and everything chopped up into it. It's like a proper pasta, but it's just not many calories.
At the end of the day, when you eat pasta, you taste the sauce. You don't really taste. I reckon you taste the noodles
and
anyway.
I put the sauce in and I fry some onions, and it tastes like a beautiful pasta.
And fills
you're
you
just not having those carbs where you're hungry a few hours later anyway,
When you eat a lot of shit, when you eat a lot of sugary foods, for example, your body starts to crave that because you get this massive sugar high, and you get kind of used to that continual high. You feel like that's the new norm, when in fact your body says this is not ideal. So it releases a truckload of insulin to get rid of it. And insulin's number one hit parade job is to stuff it into either your muscles, that excess sugar, or your fat cells. And if your muscles are forever full, guess what? Goes straight to your fat cells, and then it fills them up, and away you go. And for men, that's diabolical, because we store fat on our guts, on our breasts, our neck, and particularly our tongues, which is why men snore so much more than women do, because we get all around the airway with this big fat hairy ugly tongue.
What's that?
Sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea. Yeah. That is a crazy
big
epidemic.
problem.
And people don't know they've got it either. Yeah, they're like waking up all those hours of the night.
You can wake up 700 times a night and not even know, because what's happening is you've got this big fat ugly tongue popped over your airway, and if it's inadvertently come into contact with alcohol, it makes the tongue and other things flaccid, and it blocks over that airway. And it's like you're putting your hand over the top of a vacuum cleaner. You're sucking down oxygen, you get that vibrating grindy noise, which is unfortunate for your partner.
It is.
Maybe even for your neighbours, depending on how bad you are. But it also reduces the amount of oxygen getting down your lungs, into your blood supply, up to your brain.
And also oxygenating your body and your brain. And is so important during sleep. And also getting that deep REM sleep, you don't get that. And the consequences are so dire. I've listened to a big podcast about the consequences of not getting the right sleep and not getting the right type of sleep, as in deep REM sleep. And
I rate sleep as the number one. When I get clients come to me, it's what the first thing I ask them about is their sleeping pattern. Because if you're not sleeping well, you wake up in the morning, you don't train anywhere near as intensely, you make really bad food choices, your hormones are all over the place, and it's a disaster. But when you sleep really well and you jump out of bed bright-eyed and bushy-tailed the next day, you make smart choices with food, your energy levels are up, you train at a better intensity, your mood's better, everything about the world is a better, happier place. So I rate sleep really highly.
I think there's a whole trend at the moment of hustling and grinding and sleeping 4 hours a night, and I just think that is fucking bonkers.
Yeah, I agree. I need my sleep.
Yeah.
And I see it in clients. They look like, sorry, that was my watch going off. I see them, their performance drops away, because at the end of the day, for you to improve, you really need to have high intensity. Have a look at our training sessions. Oh my God. They are brutal.
Yeah, you need to push your thresholds of your fitness.
And you can't do that when you're shagged. When you're not sleeping well and eating well.
And obviously your brain doesn't function better.
And when you've got a really small brain like mine, you need to get as much going for it as possible.
Yeah.
And intensity is king. Sleep is absolutely king. And it's a really interesting thing. A lot of people have really no idea of what genuine intensity is. I look around the group at the end of a training session, and you could wring their T-shirts and flood the floor with water because they've worked so hard. I had a couple of young boys come in to get tested recently, and their results were just rubbish, absolute rubbish, going backwards. And I said to them, fellas, it's a bit disappointing, your results here. How hard are you training? Are you sore after a training session? And they looked at me like I was from Mars going, oh, no. I said, are you really tired afterwards? No. How often are you training? Oh, on a good week 2, most weeks 1. Hello? Of course your results are crap. Unless you're training hard And I always say to people, 2 sessions a week is an absolute maintenance week. 3 and 4 is where you start to improve. 5 and 6 is where you start to get, hit sexy town. Mm-hmm. You really start to smash out of the park. And if you're fair income, that's what you've got to commit to. And
to be honest, like, it's not that much when you think about it. It's an hour, maybe even 45 minutes out of your day, once a day, 5 times a week. I mean, it's really not that much, and the amount of benefit that you get from it. If you're a morning trainer or an evening trainer, how good you'll feel, how much better your relationship with your family and your friends will be, how much more productive you might be with your work,
how much better you look naked,
life, how much better you look naked. All of those.
I'll show you photos of me later. You'll be very
please
impressed.
do, mate. I'll show you mine. You show
me and
yours.
the goat. Yep.
I've seen enough on the training track, mate. Don't worry.
Oh dear.
Yeah, there's so many different aspects to it. There's so many different, parts of your life that improve. And I've got people that I know who don't exercise and who eat poorly. And I'm not to be judgmental towards those people, but
no,
I just
stuff it. Let's be judgmental.
Let's be judgmental.
They need a rocket.
Yes, exactly.
They need a massive rocket because otherwise we're going to be picking them up on the footpath.
Yeah.
They're the ones. The first symptom in 30% of heart attacks is death. There's no second chance. And when I first started working in the rehab area as a young bloke, the average dude that had the heart attack was 60-something, or at least looked it. And every now and then there'd be a 50-year-old that come in and we'd all go, wow, look, must have bad genes or unlucky or blah, blah, blah. Now, 30-year-olds come in, they've had a massive heart attack and no one blinks. It's as common as mud because their lifestyles are appalling. They eat really badly, don't do any exercise, and you see it in schools. I see, my wife's a teacher. God
and the kids are dropping like flies.
And kids are terrible.
Heart attacks all around.
Kids everywhere.
Yeah.
What's going on with that? Their parents drive them to the front gate. Kath has a thing. They have a thing on a Friday where they have Healthy Food Friday. And so you have to bring healthy food. Not that hard, really, you'd think. And there were parents handing over McDonald's over the fence in packets because their kids can't miss out with a little treat for one day of the week. And kids that are whining because you have to be driven to the front doorstep. I remember my kids doing that. My kids, I dropped them off a block from school, and I was the worst father of all time. I've got to walk a whole block to get to school, Dad. You're the worst. I go, yeah. But guess what? They're both super fit, healthy, and away they go. Because movement is part of life.
I'm actually very lucky in that my father was a marathon runner.
Wow.
And he ran the Comrades 92-kilometre run in South Africa, and he was devilish about his fitness. But I actually blew out to 110 kilos when I was 18.
Is that like your form of rebellion against your dad, or what's going on there?
No, mate. I just was so, like, I just didn't understand. I didn't have boxing in my life, and it wasn't until I discovered boxing when I was 19.
So how long have you been boxing?
5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and when I was 19, I discovered boxing, and I didn't understand what it was like to eat properly. Like, I'd go and I'd just stuff my face. And I went to boarding school, I just blew up. Had a buffet lunch and just eating everything I could, everything in sight until I couldn't eat anymore. And then when I started boxing, that's when I started losing the weight because I was training more, but I still didn't understand nutrition. And now in the last few months when I've gone and worked with Michelle Reeves, it's like, penny drop moment, or penny drop, time of my life where I've understood now nutrition. There's the other part to it that really sort of completes the whole package.
It's interesting you say it's a package because it is. It's like a domino effect. As soon as you start eating smart, and I reckon it's 80% diet. You can't outrun your fork, no matter how much you train. It takes. What does it take? A kilometre to work off one standard alcoholic drink. An alcohol accelerates the rate that you store fat by about 97%. So it's really hard to beat that. Not that I'm against alcohol. I love alcohol. Nothing better than sitting in a bar full of alcohol with a straw, in my personal view.
Yeah.
But it comes at a massive cost.
Yeah.
And alcohol is relaxing. It's social. Makes ugly people look attractive. I get it. Yeah, well, let me tell you, I've kept my wife pissed for 20 years. She thinks I'm Brad Pitt. So I'm not against grog, but what I'm saying is it comes at a cost, and you kind of got to create a strategy for it, knowing that it does make you store fat, it does make you bad choices, it does dehydrate you. And most people, when they have their heart attack, is when they're dehydrated. And people get into a habit of drinking. You know, I'll just have 1 or 2 glasses of wine a night.
A lot of my friends, I mean, I'm 24, and you know, the majority of my friends, I'd say, would be drinking every weekend, and I'm a bit like that too. But the last few months, I've not done it at all because I needed that clarity and that separation, and the clarity that you do get from it for just for a few months, just to not have any drinks or do any drugs or do anything like that, you know. And
just treat your body like it. You know, it's the only one you've got, just for a month or so.
Exactly, but just the difference. And then I have a lot of my friends who will say, "Oh, I can't." I've had a lot of friends who have said, "Oh, mate, I can't remember the last time I even went 2 weeks without a drink." And I still sort of think, like, fuck, you really should try.
You realise that we're now the only people listening to this podcast, because everybody there just immediately switched off. No alcohol. What drugs are those blokes on? It's the weirdest thing when I talk to clients, or even when I do have a month off the grog myself, or the 8 weeks of this training with no grog. I'm lying because I did have 2 beers, but mostly I know. But when you do it, and you talk to people who've done it, they go, "Oh, mate, how good do I feel?" And then you talk to them about the challenges. When was it most difficult? And they'll say, you know, when I went to that party or whatever it is. And I like to try and drill down a little further and go, which part of the party was the most difficult? And it's usually the first few minutes when they come in, when everyone else is grabbing a few drinks and stuff and going, "Do you want this or do you want that?" And that's when they feel anxious and going, "Oh, look," and when they've come up with the excuse and gone, "Oh, I can't because I'm driving," or, you know, "I'm pregnant," or whatever it is that excuse I've used that many times. And once you get past that, no one gives a rat's what you're drinking. And away you go. But the interesting thing is, by about 11 o'clock, you're the only sober one there, and you're going, those jokes are just not that funny anymore.
And everyone's dancing, and you're like, "Oh, I can't really be bothered getting out of the dance floor all sober."
And you go, and especially when I've only got 2 moves: the wiggle move, and that's pretty much it, really, if I'm honest. So
you don't want to disclose the other one?
Yeah, no, I can't go there. Can't go there. It's not pretty.
Slut drop.
Exactly. And so it changes the way you feel, the way you view the world, the way you bounce out of bed in the morning. You know, because grog, even a couple, slows you down. It takes a long time for your body to process that stuff. So you're going to wake up feeling sluggish. And as soon as you feel sluggish, you start looking for stimulants to get you through the day. More coffee, or more this, or more biscuits, or, you know. And I talk to people all the time, and they're doing 90% of things right, but just 1 or 2 little moments that they're stuffing up. Like, I come home exhausted, so I grab a couple of biscuits. I go, well, okay, it doesn't seem much, but a couple of Tim Tams
adds up.
2 Tim Tams are equivalent to 11 slices of bread, an apple, an orange, a banana, and 2 punnets of strawberries.
Is that right?
Yeah. And most of that's fibre, which you poop out. And the 2 Tim Tams are chock-a-block full of sugar. They raise your blood sugars through the roof, create that insulin spike. Then an hour later, you're feeling worse than you were before, so you're looking for more sugar. And it's this spiral of feel good, feel crap, feel good, feel crap. Whereas at least the other stuff is going to fill you up and clean out your bowel with all that extra fibre. So it's getting the rhythm right, getting the start of the day right, so that it's a positive dominoes instead of a negative spiral of going from one disaster to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's interesting that the challenge for all of us is to plan your day and your week and be organised so that there are no surprises. And I reckon that's one of the things that we've had to do, because we're training every second night we're here, or training with our coaches or whatever we're doing. So you have to be anal about organising the rest of your day.
I've found that really helpful to be planning every meal. I even do the meal preps and all that. And I go to bed literally, can't wait to wake up and have my big omelette with all the veggies in it, and then my avocado all on top, and tomatoes and a bit of hot sauce and all. That's best brekkie ever. So good for you. but you can make these things really healthy and good for you. You can make that a part of your daily routine. Smoothie, beautiful smoothie with berries and mangoes and all this nice stuff. Tastes so much better than a Coke or than a milkshake or something like that. It tastes so much better. It makes you feel so much better. And that's the thing that I've realized is that you can really get so much enjoyment out of good things.
Do you miss soft drinks?
No, I didn't really drink them beforehand. I have a Coke Zero sometimes when I go out, but I'm not I've kicked soft drinks the last few years completely. They make me feel like shit.
Soft drinks rubbish.
Yeah.
Even the diet soft drinks. Yeah. They just trick your brain into thinking sugar's coming.
So this is the problem that I have with someone who's a close person to me in my life. Just Diet Coke 3 a day. And I'm like, but there's no calories in it. And it's just, how do I sort of counter that?
Yeah. The reality is there might not be any calories, but your body thinks sugar's coming. And what happens when it thinks something's coming is that your body responds to that. When you come home tonight and as you walk in the door, there's a supermodel there taking off all her clothes, looking at you, waving.
I should get home soon, actually.
Exactly. Well, we know firstly that she's gone to the wrong house because she should be at my place. But you're going to start to get aroused and excited because your body's anticipating that this event's about to occur. And let me tell you, when you have that soft drink, Diet Coke or not, your body thinks sugar's coming and creates an insulin response. And then
the sugar's not going to leave you.
Sugar's not there. Exactly. Yes. Well, let's probably say that. Yes, when your other half comes home and goes, you're going to explain this.
The Coke Zero walks in the door. What are you doing here, Diet Coke?
I think you're not focusing.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
So I want to get your other half to think that Diet Coke is still evil. It is just evil stuff. And the thing is, when you get off it, you realise how evil it is because it still makes your body crave it and crave it and crave it. When you start drinking water or even just plain mineral water, that's what your body starts craving and you feel better for it.
Oh, I can testify to that, Johnny boy. I've been drinking my 4 litres a day and my brain just feels fried.
And you feel more alert.
I'm not as cognitively functional.
Spot on. One of the first signs of dehydration, apart from dark urine, is your body starts yawning and you find it very difficult to focus and concentrate. And so you often see children in schools that can't concentrate. It's often because they're dehydrated. They've been drinking bucket loads of soft drink. I tested a bloke the other day whose body fat was through the roof. He's the biggest guy I've ever measured, 237 kilos, only 22 years of age. So sad, so sad. And we were going through, his lifestyle behaviour and a lot of bad food choices, but he was also drinking like 18 cans of Coke a day. And as I picked myself up off the floor, gobsmacked, he said, "Oh, did you want to know how much I have when I get home?" That's just what he had at work. When he was sitting on this little production line, he had a Coke machine sitting behind him and he'd just lean back and grab a can of Coke, grab a can of Coke, grab a can of Coke. When he got home, he'd drink another couple of litres of Coke in the evening, and during the night, he'd wake up in the night wanting more Coke. So tell me it's not addictive. Tell me it's not a disaster.
Ugh.
And getting him off soft drink is just a nightmare because he's so heavily addicted. And I'm really pleased to see the government's now doing ads talking about the dangers of soft drink and sugar. You would have seen that movie, That Sugar Movie. Oh, get onto iTunes. Everyone out there, go and see That Sugar Movie on iTunes. It's just the bomb.
Yep.
You'll be obsessed with sugar for the rest of your life after that.
I'll definitely watch it.
But it's really eye-opening. And there are so many great movies and shows out there that get people to think about their eating plans. Like the really popular one at the moment is Game Changers, and it's encouraging lots of people to go vegetarian. I have to say I'm not a fan of vegetarian. In fact, one of my instructors at a gym who's just a gun, she's just a weapon, much like yourself. And
Stop it.
She went on to a completely veg diet
Crashed
for a month.
And burned.
put on a kilo of fat was the only change in her body.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between the way that your body observes different proteins. Yes. If they say you have a peanut butter sandwich, well, I mean, peanut butter compared to, the protein that you get from lean meats or, and things like that is completely different. The amount of more calories that you're getting from the amount of protein that you have to have through eating peanut butter or something like that. Yeah, is far more than the amount of calories that you're going to have of eating a lean meat.
And I like the fact that it is encouraging people to eat more vegetables.
And it is opening people's eyes to certain dietary choices.
I mean, the average Australian male...
better vegan than, Oh,
totally. We're generally, as a community, not eating enough. Yeah. The average Australian male eats one piece of fruit every 4 days. And that's...
Fruit's the best.
Totally. Yeah. And no wonder we lead the world in heart disease and bowel cancer and all these other nasty things. So it's a really good movie in that regard. Another ripper that I love is one called Serial Killers. Sort of appeals to my evil side. Serial as in CER. That sort of serial killer. And it's a guy that goes...
off topic there for a second.
Yes.
Go ahead.
He eats a really high-fat diet. And I guess it intrigues me because I see people using so many different eating styles and getting amazing results. So my bottom line is I really don't care what you do, mate. Just measure whether it's working or not.
Yep.
Don't just go with the flow. Just because it's working for your best mate doesn't mean it's working for you. One of the things that I do, I'm a big fan of, are the various styles of fasting. I think fasting
I love it.
Is
intermittent fasting.
Yeah, it's the bomb. A lot of people use it for weight loss, or in reality fat loss is what we should be talking about. But it resets your body in so many ways. There's so much evidence to show that it regenerates your brain. So how cool is that? Yeah.
But also there's the fact that you're getting 16 hours to let your body process everything that you're putting into it. And, when we were hunters and collectors, we often wouldn't eat for days.
Yeah.
We'd have one meal and then we wouldn't know where our next meal is coming from. We wouldn't eat for days. I don't think our body is meant to or used to or functions very well when we're constantly putting things in our mouth.
And you feel better the next day after a fasting day. It's just bizarre.
You feel lighter and leaner.
Yeah, a lot of people think, so does
love
that mean
exercising
I'm going to eat everything? Yeah,
I love exercising in the morning when I've on an empty stomach.
And you burn more fat that way.
Yep.
I've got a client, she's got breast cancer, and she will fast for like 3 and 4 days, still train, goes off and does chemo, comes to me and gets tested, walks in with her IV bag. Mate, she's jumping out of her skin. She's just magnificent.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. She is just flying. And fasting is so good, and you can do it so many different ways. You can do it your way. Well, I love the dinner to dinner diet, which is a fasting strategy where you have, say, Sunday, you have a high protein day. Basically, you might have eggs and bacon for breakfast. You might have chicken and salad for lunch. You might have steak and veg for dinner, and then you get to bed early. Important part of it. Then you get up in the morning and you do your normal day. You go like a cut snake, drink plenty of green tea, black coffee, water, and then you don't eat again until dinner time. And you have whatever you want for dinner, and then you get to bed early. Again, an important component of it. And you do that for about 4 weeks. And man, oh man, does it reset your body. And it teaches you what real hunger is, as opposed to eating because I'm bored, eating because I'm angry, because I'm sad, because I'm happy, because everyone else is eating.
Yeah. Eat to live, don't live to eat.
Totally, spot on. So fasting is absolute gold. I look at people like, Tony and Paul that have got, I reckon 1% body fat. They're ripped and they don't look like they're walking around starving or hungry.
Yep. Well, mate, speaking of, do we have to go? We're going to get in trouble.
Don't make me do this. Don't make me do this.
If we stay any
longer. It'll be 4,000
we could hide in here next day.
You'll never find us.
No. But I've thoroughly enjoyed this, mate.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. This has been great. I've loved talking about this while I still can, because on Saturday I'll be going to Argentina and hopefully being hand-fed grapes by a voluptuous South American
It's going to be hard
woman.
for you walking around with your arms constantly in the air going, I am the greatest. I am the victor. I have crushed my opponent.
My head will be drooped. I'll be.
Do you know who your opponent
coming
is
off of my?
Is Mike Tyson available? Or is
he's Iron Mike. He ducking me, unfortunately.
Pansy. Yes.
No, I'll be coming off of my high horse this week, and I'll be coming back down to earth on the weekend. Be drinking beers and all
can
that.
I say to our audience, if there's anyone left, just do me one favour. For the next 30 seconds, just be completely and utterly selfish and just ask yourself, how am I travelling? And if something was to fall over in my world, what would it be? Would it be my health? Would it be my fitness? Would it be my finances, my relationship? If I was going to bet on me and say what could possibly go wrong, I reckon in your heart of hearts, you know. And one of the saddest things I see in rehab is people who kind of had a gut feel of what their weakness was, just never got round to it. They were going to do it, but just didn't. Don't be one of the gunners. Fix yourself up before it goes bad.
Johnny,
mate, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Pleasure.
Take care, guys.
See you in the soup.